beautiful souls, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be unboxing the Wisdom of the Depths Tarot by Lyn Thurman. The Wisdom of the Depths Tarot is a 78 card deck based on the traditional symbolism of the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. The sea theme includes quirky characters alongside familiar sea creatures. The cards are digital collages with most characters starting life as vintage black and white book illustrations. The Wisdom of the Depths Tarot was successfully funded on Kickstarter in October 2020 with a limited print run of 300 decks. The little white book included in this deck is printed on 130 GSM silk art paper. As you can see, the deck size is traditional tarot size, plain edging, but these backs are beautiful. Let's turn the deck over and get to a musical flip through, and I'll meet you on the other side. you enjoyed that musical flip through of the Wisdom of the Depths Tarot by Lyn Thurman. And yes, this was very much a case of Danny Mystic made me do it. I saw this deck on her channel. I saw her walkthrough, and I had to get it. I instantly fell in love, so much that I, you know, paid that expensive $20 shipping. Price-wise, this deck is priced, you know, on average of decks, indie decks you find on Etsy. I think it was $48 or $58. But if you're in the States, shipping from the UK, you're going to have to spring for that extra, you know, $20, $21. So for many of you, that, you know, could seal the deal in you not getting it. You really have to love this kind of a deck. And for me, it, you know, I do. And I knew this was something that I would love. I do agree with Danny's assessment. If I remember correctly, there were a couple of cards that I agree with that kind of take you out of the aesthetic of the deck. This very much reminds me of the creature in the Black Lagoon. This is one of them, the Chariot card, because you see all of this, the artwork, as far as the people, you know, the collaging, the vintage aesthetic of the characters or the humanoid creatures in here, very vintage or very fantasy. And then you get more kind of, not really anime, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like cartoon animation, if that makes sense. Let me know in the comments below if you agree. So this just kind of takes me out, but and there might have been one or two others, but the rest of it, I just love the quirkiness, the kitschiness of it. Now, while I was flipping through this deck, the imagery, the collaging very much reminded me of a few other decks. And it very much reminded me if these two decks had a baby. And they would be the Intuitive Night Goddess and Danny Mystic's Mystic Masters Tarot deck with a little sprinkle of the Dreamkeeper's Tarot. So I'm trying to squeeze all these decks into frame, but this is Mystic Goddess, Wisdom of the Depths, Mystic Masters, and the Dreamkeepers. Now, these three decks are very much beloved decks in my collection. So the fact that I feel that there are elements from all these decks into this deck, it's no question why I fell in love with it while I watched Danny's flip through. You can just tell a little bit, you know, the muted color palette of these two decks here with the imagery of this deck. There's a lot of similarities. Now, this Death card here is another one that takes me out of it a little bit. It's a similar artwork that the Chariot card had, you know, kind of not, I don't want to say anime because it's not anime, but more modern illustration. And it kind of takes me out of it a little bit because you see how vintage, you know, this all is in the Wisdom of the Depths. It just kind of reminds me, there are elements in all these other decks that I've pulled out that are in the Wisdom of the Depths. The collage work I love, you know, I love collage art decks, and I think this star is so, so beautiful. You know, look at these, just, you know, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below what you're thinking, and let me know if you love collage style decks. Now, this is vintage collage, vintage imagery. Now, I know Danielle Noel has a new Oceans Oracle deck that's coming out, and I haven't pre-ordered it. I wanted to see, you know, some unboxings when it came out. And I was debating, you know, would this be a good pairing, a good Oracle deck for the Wisdom of the Depths? And I don't know, because that is ultra modern collage work, whereas you see these are all kind of vintagey, you know, in the aesthetic. Very, I'd say that the digital collaging is a little bit more muted and messy, whereas Danielle Noel's art is very ultra modern, but dreamy. It is very dreamy. So, you know, we'll see. But what do you think? Are there elements in the Wisdom of the Depths that remind you of these other decks here? I think, yeah, totally, absolutely. I think that, you know, all of these elements from these beautiful decks are in here. Now, of all the decks that I just had out, I would say that the cardstock for the Wisdom of the Depths feels most similar to my Dreamkeeper's Tarot. Now, this is the mass market edition by US Games. I also have the indie edition. Cardstock is a little bit different, but I would say for those who want to know that the cardstock, yes, feels a lot like the US Games cardstock for the Dreamkeeper's Tarot. You can see that they just used a little bit more of a more rounded corner rounder here on the edges. But yes, cardstock is very, very similar. This deck does pretty much fairly closely follows the RWS system, as you can see. So if you are a beginner starting your journey and this deck appeals to you, you could totally learn to read with this. It, you know, maybe have a traditional RWS deck close by or a book with the meanings and the symbology, and I mean, you're good to go, I think. Oh man, she's pretty. And I love the jellyfish. I really, I love the kitsch. I love the tongue-in-cheek. I love the collage. I just love the ocean elements. I think it's beautiful. And there is, as you can see, there's some diversity in this fantasy deck, which you don't always get with a fantasy deck or a deck with old vintage artwork, photographs. You don't usually get that. So this is nice that there are some cards that were included. I like this Nine of Pentacles. You know, usually we see the woman in her garden with her bird. She has her seagull, but she also has her star. And this is her domain is the lighthouse with the ocean. I think it's beautiful and totally fitting with the theme of the deck. I love the bathing beauties for the Ten of Pentacles. I mean, anytime I'm by the sea, I'm in my element, I'm happy, everything's good in life. To me, this just speaks Ten of Pentacles. Beautiful Page of Pentacles. See, this reminds me, this fella may be in the Dreamkeeper's Tarot. He looks awfully familiar. And I know I've seen her before. I think it just wonderful whimsy, and it has everything I personally like. You know, this ticks the boxes for me. Look at the expression on her face in this Five of Swords. Yeah, she's pretty happy with herself. Is she a fishmonger? Oh, look, she's holding a fish right here. So yeah, very much follows the RWS system. As a beginner, if you're a beginner, you can totally read with this. And if it's going to compete with my other ocean themed decks, I do like to read with my ocean themed decks a lot and in the summer. But you know, I'm not too much of a stickler of just pulling decks out for the season and putting them away until the season comes. You know, if I get an urge in the winter time to work with an ocean themed deck, I'm going to do it. Now, as I'm just flipping through these very, very quickly, and he does look burdened. Look at the expression on his face. Yeah. What decks can I pair with it? Now, I did show you all those tarot decks that I think, you know, fit very, very well. If you're one to work with big spreads and you want to work with a couple of tarot decks, any of the ones I've shown would pair beautifully with this. But let's see, what about Oracle? I'll be right back. Now I'm thinking I could pair either one of the Moonology Oracle decks. So yeah, I think pairing either one of these moon decks or a moon deck would fit right in, you know, the changing moon and the tides. I think these would probably be a good fit. I'm definitely going to try pairing these decks with the Wisdom of the Depths, and let's see what else. And while we're talking moon decks, I think the Queen of the Moon Oracle might be a good fit. Let's take a look. Maybe for the same reason that I think the other two decks would pair well, I would definitely try. I do love this Queen of the Moon Oracle. I worked with it a couple months back, used it as my only deck for a while, my only Oracle deck, and I really, really bonded with it. And I think this would be a pairing that might work for me. Another one would be the Coastal Curiosities Oracle deck by Lennox Reese. Now, if you missed out on this deck the first time, there is a live Kickstarter going on now with a second edition. The backs are going to be different. I think the box is going to be different, and there's some extra cards. But I think Danny may have paired this in her video. I can't remember, but let's take a look. I just want to point out these gorgeous backs. I do have a full unboxing of this Coastal Curiosities deck, and I'll try to link it in the card somewhere up here and down in the description box below. But this is a wonderful collage art deck, and because, oh yeah, I think this would be a wonderful pairing. Maybe not with this card. There's always one or two cards that just kind of takes you out of it. I do have some perfect decks for me, but generally, you know, I don't expect that all decks are going to be totally perfect. Yeah, I think this one would be a good match. Let's see what else I would try. Yeah, this one is going to be an obvious match for me, and it's probably the first pairing I'm going to try. Absolutely. Now, if I wanted to use a Lenormand deck with the Wisdom of the Depths Tarot, I would probably use my Lua Lenormand by Marie Bento. Now, I often don't choose my decks that work together by aesthetics. Sometimes I do, but a lot of the times I go by a feeling, more by the energy rather than, you know, matchy artwork. Yeah, I'm just feeling that for me, the Lua Lenormand would work really well with this tarot deck. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And again, in the same vein, not really because they aesthetically match, but more of a feeling. I think Danny Mystic's Pear Tree Court and this deck would pair well for me. And you know, the pairing of decks, it's such an individual thing. We have our own methods of how we choose decks to work together. Like I said, sometimes I may use an aesthetic, sometimes not. It's feeling and energy. But I think these two decks would work really well together for me. I also have the Messages from the Mermaids by Karen Kay and Sea Melodies by Jessica Lee. This being a little affirmation deck. I think using these two little oracle decks would be wonderful. This is one of my favorite oracle decks ever, the Messages from the Mermaids. I love the diversity in it. I do have an unboxing of it, and I'll try to remember to link it in the cards above or down below, but yeah, pretty much anything water themed I think would work really, really well. I'm definitely going to try it and we'll see how it goes. Now, as individuals, we like what we like, and we tend to gravitate and we tend to buy multiple decks in a certain genre. For me, it's Mermaid water themed decks and also vintage collage art photographic decks. And one might ask, how many decks in one genre do you need? It depends. I love my vintage collage art decks. I love a collage deck. They all have their own different feel to them. And you can have, even though it's the same type of genre, I find that you have a different dialogue with each deck. At least I do. The energy is different. Some may move to the top of the list over others as far as use. You know, we tend to get our favorites in the genre, but even though I have other tarot decks in this genre, I think the Wisdom of the Depths is definitely going to have a treasured spot. We shall see. The proof is in the pudding. I still need to work with it, but everything I see, except for 2 or 3 cards, I mean, I totally vibe with. So I hope you enjoyed my unboxing of the Wisdom of the Depths Tarot by Lyn Thurman. If you did, if you found this unboxing useful, please consider hitting a like, a subscribe, hitting the notification bell, or leaving a comment below, all of which helps this small channel to grow. I am very, very thrilled with this deck. And if you've been on my channel, you know why. This is totally my thing. It is, if you're in the US, this deck is going to cost you a little bit because of the shipping. But to me, I know I'm going to get my money's worth out of this deck. My one criticism, and it's not really a criticism, this box is so beautiful. The artwork on the box is so beautiful. I wish it was in, this deck was housed in something a little bit more sturdy, a 2-piece box at least. But you know, that's the cost of producing a deck. I know it for a small creator is you know, insurmountable, and there's a lot of cost with it. So, you know, I'm just for longevity, because it's so beautiful, you know, I wish it could have been in a little bit sturdier box. But I mean, I am very happy with the kitsch, the artwork, the collaging technique. I love it. Some of it is very whimsical, some of it is kitschy, some of it is, you know, a little bit messy, and I just love it. So yeah, I'm very pleased, and I'm going to be very happy and chomping at the bit to start working with this deck. So let me know all your comments below, and with that, I will let you get on with your beautiful day. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.